When we talk about rebuilding muscle, especially as we age, one of the first and most overlooked actions is what you put in your body within the first 30 minutes of waking. That window of time is a unique opportunity. Your body has just gone through an overnight fast, it's depleted, insulin sensitivity is high, and your hormonal environment is primed to receive nutrients. And if you want your muscles to come back, if you're serious about restoring strength, function, and even your energy throughout the day, you have to start here, breakfast. Now, most people either skip breakfast altogether or load up on processed carbs and sugars, toast, cereal, a little fruit, maybe coffee, and then wonder why their strength is fading. What you need is high-quality protein, and more specifically, you need leucine. Leucine is one of the essential amino acids, and it acts like a trigger. Think of it as a key that turns on muscle protein synthesis. That means it signals your muscles to start rebuilding. Without leucine, it doesn't matter if you eat protein later in the day. It's not about how much you eat, it's about what and when. So, what's the threshold? Around 5 to 3 grams of leucine is what's typically required to initiate muscle building effectively, especially as we age. That usually translates into about 25 to 30 grams of high-quality, complete protein first thing in the morning. Eggs are great whole eggs, not just the whites, because you're getting both the leucine and the cholesterol necessary for hormone production. Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, chicken breast, or a scoop of whey protein isolate if you're in a rush. Those are all excellent options. Now here's the thing. As we get older, the body becomes less responsive to anabolic signals. This is known as anabolic resistance. So, the same protein shake that worked for you at 25 may no longer be enough at 55. That's why it's even more critical to be strategic. You need to hit that leucine threshold consistently, and breakfast is the easiest time to do it. Don't wait until lunch to fuel your muscles. You're losing precious hours of muscle signaling and regeneration. There's also a powerful link between morning protein intake and overall energy regulation. People who start their day with adequate protein not only preserve more lean muscle mass, but they also experience fewer cravings, more stable blood sugar, and improved focus. And all of these things feed into each other. When your energy is steady, you're more likely to stay active. When your muscles are fueled, you're more likely to use them. That's the loop we want to create. It's also important to note that the type of protein matters. Whey protein, for instance, is rapidly absorbed and has one of the highest leucine contents per gram. It's ideal in the morning if you're short on time, but whole foods work too. If you're sitting down for a meal, try 3 whole eggs, a serving of turkey bacon, or a bowl of cottage cheese with chia seeds and berries. What you're aiming for is not just calories, it's a molecular message to your muscles: rebuild, repair, come back stronger. If you've been struggling with slow muscle recovery, lingering fatigue, or just feel like your strength isn't what it used to be, the first place to look is your breakfast plate. Reclaiming your physical power starts with sending the right signals, and protein, specifically leucine, rich protein early in the day, is one of the most powerful signals you can send. Don't just eat to fill your stomach, eat to activate your biology. If you want your muscles to come back, breakfast isn't optional. It's your first training session of the day. Most people think of creatine as something only bodybuilders or elite athletes take, but that's a huge misunderstanding of what this compound actually does. Creatine is not just about bigger muscles, it's about better performance, deeper energy reserves, and faster recovery. And more importantly, it's about giving your muscles the fuel they need to come back after periods of inactivity, injury, or age-related decline. If you want your muscles to return to regain strength and function, creatine should be one of the first tools you reach for, and breakfast is the ideal time to take it. The science behind creatine is robust. This is one of the most researched supplements in the world, with decades of data showing its benefits across not only athletic performance, but also neuromuscular health, brain function, and aging. What creatine does is simple but profound. It helps your cells regenerate ATP, the primary energy currency of your body. Muscles run on ATP. Every time you contract a muscle, whether it's lifting weights or just getting up from a chair, you burn through ATP. Creatine replenishes it faster, which means more reps, more strength, and over time, more muscle growth. But it's not just about during the workout. Creatine supports muscle volume and hydration, making the muscle cells more receptive to the nutrients and amino acids you're delivering through food. When taken in the morning, alongside a leucine-rich protein meal, it works synergistically to create an anabolic, muscle-building environment. Your body is waking up from a fasted state. It's ready to absorb, and that's when you want creatine circulating in your system. The dose is simple, 3 to 5 grams per day. That's it. You don't need to cycle it. You don't need to load it with 20 grams per day like old protocols suggested. Just take 3 to 5 grams daily and the benefits accumulate. Creatine monohydrate is the gold standard. It's effective, affordable, and highly absorbable. Mix it into your morning smoothie, stir it into a glass of water with lemon, or blend it with your whey protein. The key is consistency. One of the biggest benefits of creatine, especially for older adults, is its role in preserving and restoring type Roman II muscle fibers. Those are your fast, which fibers, the ones responsible for explosive strength, speed, and power. As we age, we tend to lose those fibers more quickly, which is why movements feel slower, fatigue sets in faster, and physical independence begins to decline. Creatine directly supports these fibers. It helps restore what time tries to erode, and it goes beyond muscles. The brain also uses ATP heavily, and there are growing studies showing creatine's positive effects on cognitive function, working memory, and even mood, especially in people under stress or sleep deprivation. So when you take creatine in the morning, you're not just feeding your muscles, you're fueling your mental performance too. Some people wonder if they need to be working out hard to benefit from creatine. The answer is no. While it certainly amplifies the effects of resistance training, even people who are sedentary or just beginning a fitness journey can benefit. In fact, older adults who supplement with creatine and walk daily show significant improvements in lean mass and muscular function, even without heavy weight training. It's that effective. Now, if you're worried about safety, rest assured. Creatine is one of the safest and most well-tolerated supplements out there. Drink plenty of water, keep your hydration up, and just stay consistent. The benefits are subtle at first, but powerful over time. And remember, this is not a quick fix. It's a biological support system. You're giving your body the raw materials to rebuild what's been lost. If your goal is to reclaim strength, power, and mobility, to make your muscles come back, then you can't afford to ignore creatine. When we think about muscle health, most people jump straight to protein or exercise, which are absolutely important. But if you're not optimizing your hormonal environment and your cellular signaling, you're missing one of the most critical pieces of the puzzle. That's where vitamin D3 and K2 come in, and they're not just about bones. They're deeply tied to muscle function, strength, and even how well your nervous system communicates with your body. And when you take them in the morning with your first meal, you set the stage for muscle recovery and long-term strength. Vitamin D3 is actually more of a hormone than a vitamin. It plays a major role in regulating calcium, which is essential not just for bones but for every single muscle contraction. Every time your muscle fires, whether you're walking, lifting, or just standing up, it's using calcium. Without enough D3, calcium doesn't get absorbed properly, and that affects muscle performance, coordination, and recovery. Low levels of D3 have been consistently linked to muscle weakness, especially in older adults. It's one of the reasons why people feel tired, sluggish, or experience poor balance and increased fall risk as they age. Now, this is where K2 steps in. Think of D3 and K2 as a team. D3 increases calcium absorption, but K2 tells your body where to send it. Without K2, that calcium can end up in places it shouldn't be, like arteries or soft tissues, instead of going to your bones and supporting your muscular system. K2 activates proteins that help bind calcium to bone and prevent it from building up in blood vessels, so it's essential if you want the full benefit of vitamin D. Taking both together with a fat-containing breakfast helps absorption dramatically. They're both fat-soluble, which means you don't want to take them on an empty stomach or with just water. Something as simple as eggs cooked in olive oil or Greek yogurt with chia seeds provides the healthy fats needed to drive absorption. Most people do well with around 2,000 to 5,000 IU of D3 daily, depending on their baseline levels and sun exposure, paired with around 100 to 200 mcg of K2 in the MK7 form. The key is consistency. Daily intake helps keep your hormonal and mineral balance stable, which in turn supports muscle growth and retention. What's often overlooked is how tightly connected all of this is to testosterone, recovery, and even inflammation. Adequate D3 levels have been shown to support healthy testosterone production, which is a massive lever for muscle building, especially in men, but also important for women. K2 contributes to mitochondrial function and supports cardiovascular health, which indirectly influences how well your muscles receive oxygen and nutrients during and after training. So if your goal is to bring your muscles back, to really restore strength and performance, you can't ignore the foundational role of these vitamins. They're not flashy. You won't feel a sudden surge of energy like caffeine. But over weeks and months, you'll notice its steadier energy, better control, more stable strength, and faster recovery. When you align your morning nutrition with these signals, you don't just feed your body, you activate it. If you want your muscles to return and stay strong, start by building your biology from the inside out. When people think about building muscle, they usually picture protein shakes and heavy weights. And yes, both matter. But there's a deeper layer most people miss, and it's inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation can quietly sabotage your efforts. It slows down recovery, interferes with muscle protein synthesis, and increases the rate at which you lose muscle tissue. And one of the simplest, most effective ways to reduce that internal friction is by adding omega-3 fatty acids to your morning routine. Omega-3s, especially EPA and DHA, are powerful regulators of inflammation at the cellular level. These aren't just supplements for heart health or brain function. They're deeply involved in how your muscles rebuild and repair. When your omega-3 levels are sufficient, your cells communicate more effectively, inflammation drops, and your body becomes more efficient at using the protein and amino acids you consume. In other words, omega-3s help turn your breakfast into muscle. Research consistently shows that omega-3 supplementation enhances muscle protein synthesis, especially in older adults. That's incredibly important because as we age, we naturally experience anabolic resistance. The body doesn't respond to food and exercise the way it used to. Omega-3s help counteract that. They make your muscle cells more responsive, so when you take in leucine-rich protein and creatine in the morning, those nutrients have a greater impact. You're not just feeding your muscles, you're unlocking their ability to grow. It doesn't stop there. Omega-3s also improve blood flow, which helps deliver nutrients and oxygen to working muscles. That makes recovery more efficient, reduces soreness, and improves endurance, even in everyday movement. And because DHA is heavily concentrated in the brain, adding omega-3s also supports mental clarity, focus, and motivation, key drivers if you want to stay consistent with your movement and training. The best way to take omega-3s is with food, preferably in the morning alongside your protein and other foundational nutrients. You want a combined dose of EPA and DHA that totals at least 1 to 2 grams per day. That might mean 2 to 3 high-quality capsules, or 1 tablespoon of a liquid form if that's easier. What matters is that you're getting consistent, therapeutic levels. Just eating fish once or twice a week won't get you there, especially if muscle restoration is your goal. Be selective about the source. Look for molecularly distilled fish oil or algae-based omega-3s if you prefer a plant-based option. Make sure they're third-party tested for purity because quality varies widely in this category. And if you've ever had fish oil in the past and didn't like the taste or after effects, try freezing the capsules or switching to an enteric-coated version to minimize that. It's important to think of omega-3s not as an extra supplement, but as a core nutrient, something your muscles, brain, and entire system rely on to function at a high level. You're reducing inflammation, improving nutrient delivery, and enhancing the very signals that tell your muscles to repair and rebuild. That's not a bonus, that's a foundation. If you want your muscles to come back stronger and faster, don't just eat for fuel, eat to create the conditions for growth. One of the easiest and most overlooked ways to enhance muscle recovery and performance is through what you drink in the morning, specifically caffeine sources like green tea or coffee. These aren't just wake-up tools. They are metabolic enhancers, central nervous system stimulants, and surprisingly effective allies in the muscle building process when used correctly. Caffeine works on multiple levels. First, it increases adrenaline and dopamine levels, which help improve focus, mood, and energy. That's why most people feel more alert and ready to move after a cup of coffee. But beyond that, caffeine has been shown to increase muscle fiber recruitment during exercise. That means you're able to activate more muscle tissue with the same amount of effort. Over time, that leads to more strength, better control, and a greater stimulus for growth. What's especially powerful is that caffeine also increases fat oxidation. So, when you combine caffeine with a high protein, leucine-rich breakfast, and perhaps a morning walk or light training session, you're shifting your body into a more anabolic, fat-burning state. You're preserving lean muscle mass while using fat as fuel, which helps with body composition and recovery. That's the environment you want, one where energy is high, inflammation is low, and the body is primed to rebuild. Green tea brings additional benefits. It contains a compound called egg, which works synergistically with caffeine to increase thermogenesis and metabolism, but it also has a calming effect that balances the stimulation, so you feel focused but not jittery. That's particularly useful if you're someone who's sensitive to caffeine or tends to feel anxious after drinking coffee. Green tea offers a more stable energy curve and still supports muscular performance. Timing matters. When caffeine is consumed in the morning alongside or just after your nutrient-dense meal, you align it with your body's natural cortisol rhythm. Cortisol is highest in the morning, and this is the time when you're naturally more alert and metabolically active. That's the window you want to take advantage of, not just for energy, but to amplify all the nutrients you've taken in and prepare your body for movement. It doesn't take much. Around 100 to 200 milligrams of caffeine, about 1 strong cup of coffee, or 2 cups of green teas enough to provide the benefits without overwhelming your system. Taken consistently, with the right fuel and followed by movement, it becomes another layer of support in your muscle recovery strategy. If you want to accelerate muscle return, start your day not just with fuel, but with focused energy. You can have the right breakfast, take the right supplements, and optimize your internal biology, but without movement, the signal to grow simply doesn't get loud enough. Your muscles need a reason to rebuild. Nutrition lays the foundation, but it's movement that tells your body we need this muscle, keep it, strengthen it, restore it. That's why what you do after breakfast matters just as much as what you eat. The good news is, this doesn't have to mean hitting the gym for an hour or lifting heavy weights right away. It starts small, a 10 to 20 minute walk after your morning meal can trigger a powerful cascade of benefits. It improves blood glucose control, enhances nutrient partitioning, and helps shuttle amino acids and creatine into the muscle tissue that needs them. This isn't just casual advice. It's a scientifically grounded strategy to reinforce the anabolic signals you've just activated through food and supplementation. There's a concept called nutrient timing, and it applies not only to when you eat, but also when you move. When you exercise shortly after fueling up, you're essentially giving your muscles a clear reason to absorb those nutrients and put them to use. Resistance bands, bodyweight squats, push-ups, or simply walking briskly with focused intention, all of that matters. Even if the movement is light, it sends a clear signal to the body. This muscle is necessary, and biology prioritizes what it perceives as necessary. Especially as we age, the body becomes more efficient at losing what it doesn't use. That includes strength, coordination, and lean mass. So post-breakfast movement becomes a daily message to your system. Don't let go of this muscle, reinforce it. Pairing even low-intensity movement with the right morning intake increases mitochondrial activity, improves insulin sensitivity, and boosts the effectiveness of every supplement you've taken. This doesn't mean you need to start training like an athlete. It just means integrating movement into your morning so your internal chemistry and physical actions are working in alignment. A brief walk, a short circuit of strength-based exercises, or some dynamic stretching is enough to begin. The consistency of that habit is what builds resilience over time. If you want your muscles to return and stay with you, don't just feed them. Give them a reason to respond. So, when we talk about bringing your muscles back, whether it's after years of neglect, aging, or just wanting to feel strong again, it's not about doing one thing right. It's about stacking powerful, proven actions that align with how your body actually works. You begin the day with high-quality, leucine-rich protein to trigger growth. You add creatine to fuel your cells and restore strength at the core level. You support your system with D3 and K2 to create the hormonal and structural balance muscles need. You layer in omega-3 to quiet inflammation and sharpen your body's ability to use what you feed it. You stimulate your metabolism and focus with caffeine from green tea or coffee. And most importantly, you move, because without movement, the message to rebuild falls flat. These aren't extreme habits. They're simple, deliberate choices, and when you repeat them daily, your body listens. Your strength begins to return, your energy shifts, you reclaim what you thought was gone. Your muscles are waiting, you just have to give them the right signal.